Hey, welcome to Quilty. I'm your host, Mary Fons. Quilty is a program for those of you out there who want to make an updated, fresh, modern quilt, but don't know the first thing about quilt making. Fundamentals, that's what we're all about here at Quilty. And today on the program, Fabric 101, we have a very special guest. I'll keep it a surprise for just a second. We're going to talk about fabric and why cotton broadcloth, like this, is the best thing to use when you're going to make a quilt. By the end of this segment, you will know why cotton broadcloth is used in quilt making, and also how to tell the difference between other weights of fabric and why you don't maybe want to use those in your quilt the first time out. Okay, so let's get started. So this, everyone watching at home, is my sister Rebecca.
Hi.
The third Fons. There's three of us girls.
I'm the youngest, save the best for last.
That's right. Well, before we get started today on what we're going to talk about, Fabric 101, tell the nice people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've lived in Chicago about 5 years. I work for the Chicago International Film Festival. I'm a young professional, which is weird to say as being the youngest daughter.
Right.
And I'm a roller derby referee for the Windy City Rollers.
She's awesome.
So I'm pretty busy. I'm a little crafty. I'm probably an advanced beginner in pottery. I just started taking
junior varsity. You're like JV
I'm
Potter.
JV. I'm like B team.
B team.
Yeah. JV Potter. Started taking classes about a year ago. Wheel throwing. I loved it. Made some great bowls and mugs. You know, it was really exciting.
She's really good.
Thank you.
You're good at whatever you do.
No, thanks. But I don't have a kiln in my apartment. I don't have a wheel in my apartment, nor do I have a way to make clay in my apartment.
Right.
So a new craft or a new hobby or a new side project is great, and it's something that I'm kind of looking forward to doing.
I wanted to have you on not only because you're a really new beginning quilter. I mean, you're really a rookie. You don't know don't know a lot about it just from what you picked up hanging around the house. But I also wanted to have you on because you're my sister.
Oh yeah,
and I love
absolutely.
you. Okay, so we're going to talk about fabric. Why don't you grab that piece of fabric that's right there? What is more fundamental to a quilt than the fabric? That's why we wanted to talk about this today, because I see a lot of beginning quilters. They have this idea, and it always comes up. They're like, I want to make a quilt out of my grandma's clothes.
Or my t-shirts from high school.
T-shirts from high school, right. And you can make t-shirt quilts, and that's actually it's a fun and easy project to do. And we'll talk about that one day on Quilty. But this idea that you can take kind of any old fabric that you've got hanging around the house, cut it into pieces and sew it together is actually, it's a really hard thing to do. When you make a quilt, when you make a patchwork quilt, and especially when you're beginning, you want to make it out of all the same kind of fabric. And the kind of fabric we use when we're making a patchwork quilt is cotton broadcloth, just like this. Cotton broadcloth is used in quilt making for a couple different really good reasons. Okay, why don't you give this fabric a tug? This is cotton.
A real tug.
Yeah, give it a good tug.
Give it a whirl. All right.
What do you notice?
It got a good pull.
Yep.
It's really strong. It's really tough. It's really tough. It feels really tough.
The way this cotton broadcloth is woven, it's got a warp and a weft. Those are two fancy terms for the different thread directions. And cotton broadcloth is woven in such a way that it's really strong. It can take a needle, because when you're quilting, a needle is going in and out of these little pieces a lot. And it's strong enough to withstand that. But it's not so heavy like a denim or like, a home deck fabric.
So it's really good for if you're making a quilt. It's a really light fabric, but a tough fabric.
Exactly.
It's a tough broadcloth.
Yeah.
I should be in marketing for quilting.
It's pretty good. Tough broad. That's actually really hilarious. Yeah, this is why I have you on the show.
Thanks.
Tough broad. Hilarious. Okay, so this is why we use this kind of fabric. It's also beautifully printed. I mean, there's 1,000 bazillion printed cloths that you can use, even more now. Cool fabrics to make your quilt out of.
Well, what's so great about quilting is I feel like that excitement of choosing your fabrics. I remember when you were starting to make your first quilts, you're like, oh, I get to choose the fabrics. And it's a little bit like shopping, which we love to do. So
it's exactly like shopping.
It's really fun to kind of pick up all those things that you want to try, and being inspired by those fabrics is really exciting.
I mean, and with all the fabrics out there today, there's no need to pick up random clothes that you have and cut them into bits to make a quilt, because the fabrics out there you're going to want to use.
Sure.
But Sid, even though people watching can't feel the fabrics that we're going to talk about, I want to go through some other kinds of fabric just so you can see the difference.
I don't even know what this is.
This is like a home deck fabric. This is a really cool fabric.
It's like a chair, almost.
Almost like a chair covering. It's really thick. It's kind of, it's dense. You would not want to have a shirt or a quilt made out of this fabric. It's too heavy.
It would be like, thanks for the quilt, I can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels almost like canvas.
Exactly. So, not for a quilt.
Okay.
Cool for another project, not for a quilt.
How
What's
about
this red one?
This one is like my senior prom.
Exactly, senior prom. If it looks like it's shiny, and it's got really like elasticity to it.
Yeah, and it's like this pull. It just, it's so light.
It disintegrates.
Right.
That's not going to be good. And especially if you were cutting up all these different things, imagine sewing something like this to something like this.
Right.
It does not play well together.
Yeah.
You can't make these. There's such different weights. That's not going to be easy.
This one can't support that one. There's
No.
just no way. Okay.
Next.
This one, which I love.
It's linen. It's fantastic.
It's great.
It would make a great shirt. It would make a cool suit, a great pair of pants. But linen is woven in a different way. It is cotton, but it is just not what you want to make a quilt. And you can tell linen because you can kind of see through it. I don't know if you can see me, but like it's sort of like
I can
sheer.
see it. And yeah, it's just like too thin.
It's not right for a quilt.
Okay. This is also really nice.
This would make a great scarf. I think that's another good rule of
This
thumb.
is a scarf.
Let me try that. If you could wear it as a great like cool scarf, it's probably
You
not.
don't even have to do anything. You could just done.
It's probably not going to be good for a quilt.
No.
If you're wearing it as a scarf, if it's thin enough like that.
It's a little too soft. Okay,
Got
and then
two
we got
more
this
left.
One.
Wow, I don't really know what to
It's
say
like the
about
fighting
that.
Huskies, like, black and gold, the colors from high school. It's just really gold.
You're just my model on this. This is like a cape. This is like a superhero cape.
It is. It's my Wonder Woman cape.
It's way too stretchy. Another reason you don't want to mix these fabrics is this has got a polyester in it and this metallic stuff. You try to iron this, you're going to be really sorry.
Is it going to melt or it's just going to
melt?
Ooh,
it's going to melt. It's going to be very
and
sad.
From the other Quilty episodes, I know that like ironing is so important, like that pressing. And so that broadcloth, that tough broad can like take that ironing.
Exactly.
But this is just going to wilt and be destroyed.
She learns so quickly. And the last one we have is it's a polar fleece.
Yeah.
Great on a cold night when you're camping. Not going to be great for making a quilt. Now you can use this. You can use all of these fabrics when you want to make things with your sewing machine. But when you're making a patchwork quilt, this is the point. This is great for a project.
Sure.
But a different project. When you're making a patchwork quilt, you want to use cotton broadcloth. And with fabrics like these, are going to be the best thing for you. I really recommend you use cotton broadcloth when you're doing a patchwork quilt. You will be happy, happy, happy. What do you think?
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I want to go shopping for fabric now.
We can do that.
Well, with you by my side, because it's still, it's amazing, but it's a little overwhelming. So I can watch this again and kind of like remind myself. And then if I go to any shopping center where they sell fabric, if I just say cotton broadcloth, or like a section maybe, this is like quilting.
In a big box store, they're going to point you to the quilt aisle.
I'll know exactly what to do.
In a quilting.
That takes away the fear a little bit.
But all you have to do is ask and watch shows like this where we take you through from the beginning. So if you want more information on cotton broadcloth, where to shop for things, patterns, and the next step once you pick your fabric, go to qnntv.com/quilty, and you can email us too at quilty@qnntv.com. Thanks so much, Rebecca. You were great.
Thanks, Mary.
Bye.
Bye.